Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about inflammatory bowel diseases that includes Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. This is very important, very high yield topic for the preparation of step 1 and step 2 because they make a lot of questions from this particular topic. Inflammatory bowel diseases, from the name, it is very clear that there would be an inflammation of the bowel. Let's first talk about Crohn's disease. In Crohn's disease, there is an inflammation. There could be an inflammation of any part of the GIT from oral cavity to anus, but usually it causes an inflammation of terminal ileum and colon. There will be rectal sparing. That means rectum is not usually involved, and on the microscopy we see skip lesions. Skip lesions means some part of the git is involved, some part of the git is not involved. There will be no continuous lesions. I will show the diagram which will make things more clear, but for now skip lesions means some portion of the git. On gross morphology we see that some portion of the git is affected and some portion is healthy or normal. Okay, now let's talk about the gross morphology of Crohn's disease. There will be transmural inflammation. That means the whole thickness of the GIT is involved, will be inflamed from mucosa to muscularis propria. Okay. There will be cobblestone mucosa. What is mean by cobblestone mucosa? There it means that there will be depressed ulcerations that separate the elevated islands of healthy tissue. So it will give the mucosa an appearance of cobblestone street. Okay. Second is um, creeping fat, and we'll see bowel wall thickening. So, why would there be bowel wall thickening? Because due to inflammation involving all the layers of the bowel wall. So, when there will be an inflammation of all the layers of the bowel, there will be bowel wall thickening. And due to the thickening, edema, and hypertrophy of the muscularis mucosa, there will be formation of what? Formation of fissures. Okay, and it can progress to bowel obstruction. Okay, now there will be lean in gross morphology, we'll see linear ulcers and we'll see fissures. I've already talked about fissures. There will be edema and thickening of the muscularis mucosa that lead to formation of fissures and eventually bowel obstruction. Okay, on microscopic morphology, we see non-caseating granulomas. There are two types of granulomas: the caseating granulomas, which we see in tuberculosis on histology, and the second is non-caseating granuloma. So in Crohn's disease, we see non-caseating granuloma. What could be the complications of Crohn's disease? One very basic complication, which usually happens in all types of inflammatory syndromes, is malabsorption or malnutrition. Because of the thickening or the inflammation of the bowel, the certain important elements, minerals, vitamins could not be absorbed from the GIT and can lead to malabsorption or malnutrition. Second important complication which we'll see in Crohn's and ulcerative is colorectal cancer. These inflammatory bowel diseases increases the risk of colorectal cancers. Okay, now let's talk about the complications that are very particular to Crohn's disease. I've talked about fissures. I've talked about, now let's talk about fistulas. How the fistulas will form. So when there is a bowel wall thickening and the thickening is involving the entire thickness of the bowel, it leads to the sinus tract formation that communicates between multiple organs. So that will lead to the formation of enterovesical fistula, enteroenteric fistula, enterovaginal fistulas. So first is fissure, second is fistulas. Two complications: malabsorption. Third complication: colorectal cancer. Fourth complication: it can also cause, because of the fistulas formation, can cause recurrent UTI. Why recurrent UTI? Because of the bowel, because of the feces can enter into the urinary tract, into the bladder, and can lead to the bacteria can grow there and can lead to formation, can lead to recurrent UTI. There can be the air from the bowel enter into the urinary tract and can lead to pneumoturia. So these are the more further complications which can happen due to formation of fistulas. There can be formation of abscess because when sinus tracts become walled off, they can also perforate and can lead to diffuse peritonitis. They can lead to when they walled off, they form abscess, and when they perforate, they can lead to a major complication cause peritonitis. Okay. Now let's talk about intestinal manifestation. What we gonna see in patients. Usually patients will present with the diarrhea that can be bloody or that can be non-bloody. Okay. Extra intestinal manifestations, they usually ask a lot of questions from this um, particular thing, that what are the extra intestinal manifestations which are particular to Crohn's and which are particular to ulcerative colitis. So rash, pyoderma gangrenosum or erythema nodosum we can see in both ulcerative colitis and um, Crohn's disease, eye inflammation like episcleritis, uveitis, oral ulcers, which we also call aphthous stomatitis. It is more common in Crohn's rather than in UC. Arthritis, peripheral or spondylitis, we can see in both. Extraintestinal manifestation, which is particular to Crohn's disease, is kidney stones. And now the question arises, which type of kidney stones can happen due to Crohn's disease? So, what happens in Crohn's disease? In Crohn's disease, there is an inflammation of the bowel. When there is an inflammation of the bowel, so what happens? It is associated with the formation of calcium oxalate kidney stones. How the calcium oxalate kidney stones are associated with Crohn's disease? Now let's talk about the pathophysiology of oxalate stones we see in Crohn's disease. Usually, in the Crohn's disease, there is impaired bile acid absorption in the terminal ileum. Okay, that leads to loss of bile acids in the feces and with subsequent fat malabsorption. So, when fat is malabsorbed, when there are lipids in the intestine that are not absorbing, that lipids bind to the free calcium and it form a complex of calcium and lipids. Normally, let's go back again and talk about what happens normally. Normally, it happens that when we take a dietary calcium, that calcium binds free oxalate and forms a calcium oxalate non-absorbable compound, and that calcium oxalate then gets lost in the feces. Okay, but what happens in Crohn's disease? The free calcium binds to lipids, and now the calcium is not available for oxalate. What gonna happen to oxalate? That now the oxalate, the free oxalate, gets absorbed through the GIT and enters into the urine and leads to the formation of calcium oxalate stone. Okay, this is the whole pathophysiology behind formation of calcium oxalate stones in Crohn's disease. Okay, it is associated with, this is an antibody. They ask a lot of times anti-Saccharomyces cerevisiae antibody are positive in Crohn's disease. The treatment is glucocorticoids, azathioprine, certain antibiotics, biologics. Okay, now let's talk about ulcerative colitis. Ulcerative colitis, from the name, it shows that colitis means it's gonna affect colon. Okay, so ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, and rectum. It usually involves colon. Always involves colon, and there is always involvement of rectum. Rectum was not involved in Crohn's disease. There will be, in gross morphology, we see the mucosal and submucosal inflammation only. There is no transmural inflammation. Okay. The mucosa, which we see under microscope, will be friable mucosa with superficial and deep ulcerations. Okay. Not the cobblestone mucosa. Okay. Because of the loss of hostra, it can lead to lead pipe appearance on imaging. When we do the X-ray of the abdomen, or we do the CT, we see the loss of hostra. Hostra are like, you can Google it and see the hostra. It's very simple. So when there is a loss of hostra, it can lead to lead pipe appearance, and it can further, if the GIT gets perforate, can lead to peritonitis. Okay, Now let's talk about microscopic morphology. There will be crypt, abscesses, ulcers, bleeding, and no granulomas. Granulomas are not seen in UC. Okay. Again, the complications of UC are malabsorption, malnutrition, again colorectal cancer. But the complications that are uh, different from the Crohn's disease, which we see in ulcerative colitis, are fulminant colitis, toxic megacolon. Why toxic megacolon? Because of the loss of hostra that lead to lead pipe appearance, and when it gets further enlarged, it can lead to toxic megacolon and can also cause perforation and then peritonitis. Okay. In UC, we usually see bloody diarrhea, which is usually nocturnal, means nighttime, and it is painful diarrhea, painful bloody diarrhea. Extraintestinal manifestations, some are common manifestations between the ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Certain complications which are only seen in uh, UC is primary sclerosing cholangitis. We'll talk about this particular pathology in our upcoming lectures. For now, just remember it is associated with primary sclerosing cholangitis. Okay, and what types of antibodies will be present in UC? MPO or P and K. Okay. Treatment is 5-aminosalicylic acid preparations like mesalamine, 5-mercaptopurine, infliximab, and the lastly is colectomy. We remove part of the colon which is affected. Okay. Disease activity, fecal calprotectin used to monitor activity distinguished from non-inflammatory diseases like irritable bowel syndrome. So if you want to distinguish between irritable bowel syndrome from the inflammatory bowel syndrome, we can do the test called fecal calprotectin. But I have seen a lot of questions, like they give questions related to ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, and they ask certain tests, and there is always an option of fecal calprotectin. Here I want to say that most of the times this option fecal calprotectin is not the right answer. Okay. This A diagram is for Crohn's disease. It's showing the string appearance. Okay. Second, the B diagram is showing the normal mucosa, normal bowel, and the C diagram is showing the ulcerative colitis. You can see certain superficial ulcers. Okay. Now this image is very important. I want to really wanted to share this one. Okay. Look at this diagram. It will make things a lot easier. Look at the normal bowel. Okay, no inflammation. Normal epithelium, muscularis propria, submucosa, and mesentery. Everything is normal. Look at the Crohn. In Crohn's disease, you can see any part of the GIT can be involved. You can see a small bowel is affected and also colon is affected. You can also see skip lesions. Some part there are no continuous lesions, skip lesions. Some part is diseased, some is healthy, some diseased, some healthy. Okay. Now look at the below diagram. We will see the thickened muscularis mucosa. We are seeing fissures. We are seeing cobblestoning, transmural inflammation. Whole thickness of the bowel is inflamed. Okay. Now let's talk about ulcerative colitis. You can see the continuous lesion and only colon is involved. No small bowel, no stomach. Okay. Rectum is involved, which was not involved in Crohn, and we'll see the superficial inflammation, only mucosa and submucosa, certain ulcers, and pseudopolyps. Okay, I think this is all about Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. If you have any questions, any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. Stay tuned for the next lectures.